I've been playing with flying models and RC planes since the days of the 049 diesel, and a great many of those aircraft have been profoundly disappointing. But today, I'm going to tell you about a plane I have that I absolutely love. It's called the Syma X5C. I got it online, and I paid about $60, and that included 3 extra batteries and a charger. It doesn't look like much. It looks like a toy, something that wouldn't be any fun. It's only about 13.5 inches square, and it only weighs about 3.5 ounces. But having a small, non-threatening plane in the atmosphere of hysteria about drones in which we currently live is not necessarily a bad thing. Having a plane like this allows you to smile at the soccer moms who are concerned and go, "Oh no, it's only a toy." Now, it is available in black, and for the reasons I've just described, it's probably not a very good idea to get one in black, because to the soccer moms, black means stealth, stealth means military, and military means danger. In fact, it probably would not be a bad idea if Syma, all the other manufacturers, would put decals on that say toy drone. Getting started is simple. You have a small 3.7 volt battery that goes into a slot at the back of the plane. You then make sure the cover is securely latched, and you're about ready to start. First, you have to synchronize the gyros. When you turn the plane on, the lights on the bottom will flash fast for about 20 seconds. Then they go into a slow flash. At that point, the gyros have been stabilized and you can pair the controller. Now, on the upper left-hand corner of the controller, there's a button that controls the power level. L and H, about 40% power and full power. You see a little L and H on the LCD panel on the front of the controller. You want to use the L for photography, but you definitely want to use the H if you're going to high altitude. Flying the X5 is interesting. The controller software is not terribly sophisticated. The plane will not hover and stay in one place. You have to control it all the time. If you just take your hands off the controls while it's near something, it'll fly into something. It does, however, respond quite sharply to any control inputs, forwards, backwards, sideways, and of course you have the axis control to change the orientation of the plane if you wish to. I would say it's probably capable of about 20 miles an hour in nose-down flight at low level. It's quite a bit of fun to fly at low level. You can treat it as though it's a game, hide behind hedges, come up and down. The problem you get into with this plane, and the only real disadvantage to it that I can testify to, is that it's not really terribly good at high altitude. It seems to struggle the higher it goes up, and the higher it gets, the more it works just to stay aloft. So while it may be able to make 20 miles an hour at 50 feet, at 300 feet, it struggles to make any headway. And of course, there's always higher winds once you get into the higher elevations. And this has an effect in terms of the range of the plane, which I'll talk about in a minute. But flying at around 100, 125 feet or lower, I found it to be absolutely delightful and loads of fun. Now you hear a lot of people talking about flyaways and all sorts of things. This plane has a number of fail-safes that are remarkable. First of all is the auto-gyro ability of this plane. Here I'm taking it up to about 80 feet and just killing the power. And it's actually floating slower by the time it hits the ground than it was the first 10 feet. Watch it again and watch as it hits the ground. There's no way you're going to hurt this plane just killing the power. It also has a loss of contact shutoff. So I've turned on the plane here, it's anchored down, and now I'm going to turn off the power. And it'll run for about 20 seconds once it's lost contact to see if there was some interference. Then it just shuts off. So this is not going to be flying for 20 miles somewhere as a UFO. It also has a mode that when the battery gets low, it makes a descent that the controller software takes over. You have no control over it, but it's a powered descent. You see it again here from a lower level, but it's a nice soft powered descent, so you don't have to worry that it's going to come spiraling down somewhere. It's one of the safest planes you'll ever fly. It doesn't have enough weight to hurt anybody if you hit them, and the props are soft and the engine's not very powerful, so you can be positively reckless with it. Stuff like this would probably result in medical attention with a larger plane. The prop guards only weigh 6 grams. I don't think there's a performance advantage to taking them off, but if you're in an area of deciduous trees, let me tell you, the prop guards hook on to any branch you brush against. Now you hear a lot of talk about the transmitter not being very strong. So I decided to try a unscientific scientific test. Went out to a straight road that was had 700 feet of visual contact. We anchored the plane down, and I sent a friend down the road with a controller and a radio, and we tried it every 25 feet, turning it off and on. We found that it would operate the plane up to 575 feet away. And that's just about what Syma claims, because they claim a 100-meter range, and if the plane is 300 feet in the air, that's what gives you 100 meters. If you want to improve the power of the transmitter, it's possible to take it apart and work on the antenna. The little nub device that you think is an antenna is actually a fake. The actual antenna is a piece of wire sticking out from the motherboard on the controller. It appears to be a quarter wave antenna, so if you install the 5/8 or a full wave, it might be better, but let me tell you, if you don't get it exactly right, it won't be. Now let's go to the video, which is one of the things that really makes this plane kind of special. And the first week or two you have the plane, you start taking video of your neighborhood and your town, and you go, holy cow, that's amazing. Things that are like a quarter mile away look very sharp, almost as if they're in high definition. But after a couple of days, you begin to notice that the distant items in the shot don't look as sharp. It's a very interesting kind of effect, and it is possible to work on the lens and improve it. And I'll show you that in a second. But right here, I want to show you that once the plane gets up to around 150 feet and gets in higher winds, it all of a sudden is taken by the wind, and I'm working to keep control of this plane. It's a desperate situation, because if the wind is going 15 miles an hour, you have about 30 seconds before it goes out of range. Taking the camera apart is pretty simple. It's all screws in plastic, and once you get it apart, you'll find what's basically a 1992 webcam with a microscopic image sensor in a cheap lens. If you put a mark on the lens so you know where it was, and then put a drop of alcohol on the threads that hold the lens together so that you can twist the lens, you can put forceps or needle nose pliers on it and very carefully twist it counterclockwise, like half a millimeter at a time. It doesn't take much, and this will give you a sharper picture on the horizon. It does take about 5 or 6 hours. You have to keep testing it and keep trying it, but as you can see here, once again, I'm in the wind. Even though the water looks glassy, I'm actually in quite a bit of wind, and it improves the horizon resolution considerably. Another modification a lot of people like to make is to change the angle of the camera. It's set on about a 25-degree downward angle, which enables the enhancing software to improve the picture easier. But if you put it on there parallel, you can take more of a horizon shot. I did it here not by putting spacers in, but by just jamming a piece of wood in there. And this is the effect I got. I don't know whether it was worth doing. Ultimately, the problem with the video on the X5 is that the plane reacts to every breath of wind. I did try it underneath the trees, and it was kind of cool, except that every time I did this, I wound up crashing into a tree. Ultimately, though, I think the way to deal with it is just to keep it the way it is and enjoy it. It's one of the most fun planes. It has limitations. It's never going to be a DJI Phantom, but it only costs $60. And the fun per dollar ratio of this plane is incredible.